when it comes to Pawn and what he's been able to show us. So is this an upgrade? Is it not? Let's find out as we get into pick and ban for game number 2.
SANDBOX Gaming jumping onto the blue side. Their big surprise, and there's been one in every draft they've done so far, was the Draven. Very annoying to know that the enemy has a Draven player, and actually Kingzone have been one of the teams that have been, I guess KT last year, but Kingzone now. Deft teams are the most likely to ban Draven, because Draven is a champion that impacts Deft more than most other champions can, right? The agency and priority that Draven provides in lane trades is the sort of annoyance that a high skill AD carry like Deft doesn't want to deal with. I don't know if you first round ban Draven, but it's definitely going to be a question that's going to be pondered by the coaching staff of Kingzone.
Well, Urgot going to be taken off the board. That Draven still going to be available, but Aatrox is also still up. So Kingzone probably considering banning that one out. SANDBOX probably leap at it for that first pick. Flexed so many different ways and is going to be banned away. So now, what is going to be the priority for that first pick?
A lot of people would say Galio, and Galio already quickly going to be hovered here by Summit. It's locked in. There's no counters to Galio, and apparently it's a support. Who knew?
That's true.
So this is definitely a game where we could see it because Joker played it in the support role. Again, I'm not a big fan of it, but I think situationally the flex can make a lot of sense. Against Illusion, for example, it can be strong because of his medium range. And do notice, Illusion is available and likely to be locked in again for one of the members of Kingzone DragonX.
They could just lock in a bottom lane here as well, take away that Thresh as well.
Or it could just hunt Galio, because mid lane Lucian against Galio, we've seen in the LCK, can be a pretty hard counter. Can you chase him top lane? I would say yes, given that Lucian top is both a meme for Huni and a very potential strong laner. So I want this to be a flex Lucian. I would be disappointed if they just disregard any further thoughts and put it in the bot lane.
Well, now we've got the Galio Camille combo, which certainly can still be used from a bottom lane Galio there as well. As now Dove, what is he going to pick up? Are they going to reveal their hand here as the Jace to be locked in? Be a difficult matchup for the Scion. Can he get a little bit bullied, but we've seen both sides of that particular matchup as Neon. Is he going to do a nuke duck for us?
This is so risky against SANDBOX. They've played support Galio. So this Vayne may not be hunting who she thinks she's hunting. I understand the theory. It looked very strong in LEC. Has been played there a couple of times. It's too risky a lock-in. That's why you do see them pivot away. We're going to see a Zoe, and this is not Pawn Zoe. This will be Neon Zoe. Most likely. Still a chance it's in the bot lane. Perks played it in the LEC for G2 Esports already. So right now, Kingzone and SANDBOX, on paper you think you know stuff, but if we know anything about LCK Summer or LCK Spring 2019, we know very little about the champions till 20 seconds into those lock-ins.
Yeah, so Scion is probably going into a solo lane. We know that much, but otherwise everything's still looking very up in the air. SANDBOX, in theory, we know where all of these champions are going, but not when it's in the hands of these guys, because Joker can be picking that one up in the support position. They're banning away the Braum. Could this mean they're also hunting for an Ornn?
It's a very, very curious ban, Atlas, because you like Braum against Zoe, right? You like Braum against the Lucian culling as well. So it does seem conspicuously Ornn-related on the side of SANDBOX Gaming. Wonder if it's a mind game or a next level. Alistair going to be the second ban here.
And the Darius banned away from Kingzone, not wanting to get summited yet again in the mid lane if they do decide to put the Scion there for some reason. Certainly a lot of options, but Neon's probably going to be playing that Zoe over there.
Be a takeaway on the Kha'Zix. This is actually, Kuz is probably most famous pick out of the jungle. Played a lot of it for Longzhu Gaming when Kuz was a Royal Rotor. Feels like a while ago. That was 3 splits ago.
Yes.
Longzhu Gaming pulled off the Fairy Tail win over SK Telecom T1 in the grand final of LCK Summer 2017. SANDBOX have hard engage and a strong laner, but they aren't really bound to any particular comp. You could go Vladimir Dive here. You could also return to the Draven if you're feeling confident. We're seeing what the bot lane choice will be.
To think about that AD carry.
We do know it will be solo lane on the Galio. That's finally revealed, as Joker will once again return to his Thresh. What is SANDBOX going to do here? Is it Draven Thresh again? If your read is, if Tucson and Deft don't pop off, then maybe we win elsewhere. Going for about the strongest blind pick duo lane might be a good way to halt the advance of first Kingzone's bot lane and then Kingzone DragonX as a whole.
Yeah, I actually don't mind it whatsoever because the top side of the map is also very stable with what they've put together so far. what can Kingzone do to lock this one up? And it will be that infamous Tahm Kench for Tucson, which has been a linchpin for him and a detriment for his entire team in the past. But with Illusion, is that exactly what you want? Yes, you can pick him up while he's using the culling and shoot it out of your belly, but that's not necessarily the type of lane that you want to pair with Illusion.
This definitely looks like turret dive bot lane all day long if you can on the side of SANDBOX and leave Jace a bit isolated on the top side. OnFleek's aggression on the Camille has been right up there with the best. He is certainly one of these young, up-and-coming junglers who can put the full solo queue-esque aggression into that Camille jungle pick. Sion versus Jace. Sion actually has a lot of priority early in this matchup, even though you think of Jace's priority. He's going to go Klepto and try to farm out. And you need a pretty certain item build that we didn't see from our earlier Jace. No. In the LCK, you need Blade the Ruin King and Black Cleaver to have really any chance of out-trading the Sion. So we will watch that matchup very closely. The fact that you've got Tucson on Tahm Kench, you already feel like a draft win on the side of SANDBOX Gaming, because while he can play the champion, it removes him from his natural tendencies and puts Kingzone's duo firmly on the back foot.
Exactly, especially when we know exactly what Ghost and Joker were able to accomplish in game number 1. SANDBOX just trying to turn it around, run it back again. And it's going to be OnFleek this time, wielding the Camille, and Cuz going to pick up his champion from game number 1 in the Kha'Zix. So you can see it on your screen right now, and Neon going to be debuting here for Kingzone as Pawn has been subbed out. And his Zoe will be taking to the Rift to see whether he can turn around what have been some poor fortunes so far for Kingzone.
Kingzone's solo laners need to perform in this game. They both have matchups where situationally you can win pretty hard. Mid lane is a scaling matchup. Sion as the early game side of the matchup. Hear the crowd cheer. Crowds are going to be needed. You need extra wind in the sails after a rough game 1.
Exactly right, but you can see it's not exactly an audience that buys what the teams were selling in game number 1. Can they find something worthwhile in game number 2?
Congratulations on the professional debut of Neon in Korea. Has never played in LCK or Champions, despite being a pro player for a while. Visual bug there was very amusing.
Yeah,
on
a
Rascal.
bit of skating.
Everyone's a bit faster sometimes than we're used to.
Yeah, especially Sion. Glad that he's in almost every single game.
There's a lot of different things you need to think right now. If you could pause the game here and listen in on the comms, it's all, how do we stop 2-camp OnFleek on the Camille from stealing away a big buff? Because we know we saw a score go from red to blue on the bottom side of the map last time. Blue side Camille can also make top side plays. And how about a turret dive play that seems pretty scouted out by Kingzone DragonX?
Exactly. They know exactly what's going on with Summit here. Is okay, Shock Blast does get damage onto 2, but thankfully for SANDBOX, they do make it out with just that being the eventuality. Good positioning from Tucson just to avoid anything more.
I feel like that must be a solo queue trend from OnFleek that's being revealed into pro play here, because they were 100% sure it wasn't going to be a red buff to blue buff bot side of the map play when it comes to the jungler. The reason why you might expect that, the reason why you might be more confident this game than others that it'll be a Camille top side play, is because vertical jungling around a Jace is the god tier, allows him to overextend and get more autos in. Curiously, Summit hasn't followed the recent trend. He's actually gone for Summoner Airy for a little bit more of oomph in the lane trades rather than the Kleptomancy. That's pretty much the standard, especially in these tank matchups.
We'll see whether he can get beyond his minion line. You can see right now with the minimap positioning that he certainly has been able to, but getting the pressure onto Rascal is going to be the difficult thing. Okay, Summit. I'm liking it so far. We'll see whether he actually goes for an earlier Blade of the Ruin King than others. I mean, we know that Smeb does like to pick that item up almost as quickly as he possibly can a lot of the time when he's playing the champion. Certainly a lot of these things are personal preference with item builds.
Well, Atlas, I need you to be the Scuttle Crab counter. Right now, I can tell you it's 2-0 to OnFleek, and this is going to be a tricky one for Cuz to find Scuttles. He would prefer they were top side because Sion, as we mentioned already, can have some good options against the Jace. Not being revealed so far, as Sion's been very, very defensive, aware of the Camille pressure.
Yep, you can understand that you got to fear her from level 2 onwards, which was hit very, very early.
And we also want to temper our expectations around Rascal as a player, because although I was happy to see him finally get a starting spot, he always looked capable on Kingzone in the past when he was subbing in for Khan. He actually lost reverse matchup pretty hard in the Kesper Cup and hasn't really impressed so far in LCK Spring, so he's still growing into his role, and the clothes don't fit as tightly. He understands that he's now a starter after multiple years of being a sub, but so far Rascal hasn't really put his best foot forward in LCK, and maybe he needs a big performance to begin a good trend.
Well, speaking of beginning things, we've already got the turret plating being taken down to 4 on the bottom side of the map. SANDBOX pushing in, grabbing that extra 80 gold for the bottom lane each. Cuz stealing away the Wolf camp was almost collapsed on, but the Camille going to be answering it here on the bottom side of his map there as well. Some nice play from OnFleek, immediately punishing. But I don't think that Wolf camp was actually there. I believe he got a Gromp and then had to move on.
Calculations against this lane for the Tahm Kench are very frustrating, because if you're stunned at the wrong point, those extra Draven autos overkill you by 30 damage, and your Grey Health still available, but you're in the Death Chamber. So not the easiest, really punishing lane for the duo on the side of Kingzone. And maybe this is the real reflection of what we were speculating, which is...
Oof. Tucson actually putting that Devour on cooldown could be a big deal. Yeah, exactly. Hook doesn't land because Deft got out of the way.
If Deft and Tucson are counterpicked, Tucson not on an engaged support, Deft having to deal with a Draven, can Kingzone DragonX win? Can they find pressure? And speaking of pressure, OnFleek is waiting for his Camille cooldown. You can see 3 seconds on hookshot.
Yeah, Rascal going to get slowed down here, gets bonked back towards OnFleek, who doesn't quite have that hookshot available just yet. Redemption going to come in from Naeon, but he's still going to go down most likely. Hookshot's going to be there, the flash, and OnFleek nails the gank topside for first blood.
That was actually pretty next level when it comes to how to play that out. Everyone was aware of cooldowns. OnFleek held his hookshot for a long time and doesn't end up taking bonus turret shots either. Pretty clean stuff, pretty on fleek if you ask me, is actually Joker forced to flash.
Yep, both of these AD carries completely out of mana. The hook is right in there. Tucson uses the cleanse that he picked up to start this lane off. And okay, just tries to throw a caster minion at Ghost, but it's a little bit optimistic there from Tucson. Kingzone fighting back bottom side is certainly good news for them though.
Getting that kill through the annoying redemption heal as well.
I know.
Pretty next level stuff. OnFleek gives no mundos about clearing camps. He wants to gank again, and he's got to wait about 8 seconds for hookshot.
Yep, Rascal shows himself, and now there is no flash. No flash on OnFleek either, but Rascal will lose a lot of his health bar here. Doesn't have the ability to be that choo-choo train, and they are going to finish this one off. Summit not even going to get knocked up, so he'll keep most of his health bar.
We're just learning about damage ranges here. Press the attack, and Jace, thank you very much. They get a secondary kill. This is just the ultimate dunking on a man short of confidence in Rascal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly not what you want. And what is it with players from Kingzone getting smashed in the early game? Khan also struggling with it a little bit in their first series.
But your heart goes out to Rascal this time. We know his confidence is low. Look at how he plays this. He had already started kiting back. He was just doing his best to buy time. This is the first replay, so he does eat extra damage. I was like, wait, he actually dodged the EQ. But when we get the replay, he dodges the EQ on this play. He takes the minimum damage. He gets under turret at about 1,000 health. It doesn't matter because everything perfect on the end there from SANDBOX's duo. Summit and OnFleek are looking like one of the scariest top jungle duos to deal with in the LCK.
Yeah, which is a really scary thing to talk about because we've got some pretty insane top jungle duos. That's a really nice playback. Tucson not going to offer any damage in, and thankfully there were minions in range, so the turret not going to get aggressive. Ghost already down relatively low though, and he's got a BF sword to the Vamp Scepter that was picked up by Deft. Certainly good news here for SANDBOX, but it's Deft that's able to throw through the piercing lights.
Deft stays within 15 CS. They will feel pretty happy on the bot side, so turret plates might have to be the objective from Ghost and Joker.
Already got one, so if that is the case, then they've got pass marks so far.
The pass mark for SANDBOX, if you're the coach and you're saying, how do you want this game to play out? Obviously, you're just ecstatic about the 2 kills topside. That's more than you could expect. Yep. 1 would be the kind of dream scenario there. But winning the top lane for the Jace and then the ults, the Camille ultimate into the Galio ult being used bot side to get a double kill, that's what a one game looks like. That's what an early game plan looks like. Because they've got the snowball topside that as a bonus, the reliable part is Hextech Ultimatum, Hero's Entrance, and Draven damage. And they haven't even got to those cooldowns being available.
Well, speaking of which, that is now a culling on cooldown on the bottom side of the map as Deft is just trying to bully Ghost out of that lane. Not necessarily something you'd expect in the Lucian versus Draven matchup, but things are going well. As Cuz pokes his head in, leaps immediately on top of OnFleek. Trouble Bubble is going to land in the hero's entrance just to get him out of the way. Joker comes forward. Neon does use the cleanse. And his flash also on cooldown as well. I could have sworn OnFleek was going to go down, but saved by the rest of his team.
The model there of the Galio interrupts the paddle shot and the hook lands to get a defensive summoner out of Neon. He used his real flash through that play, by the way. You can notice it there on the right side of the screen. So that time Joker's Thresh comes up clutch. Does mean the first hero's entrance isn't used on Deft. So really the only big winner out of that play is Deft.
Yes. Well, he's going to win out of this trade here as well as Ghost goes down very, very low. Cuz going to be able to take the Cloud Drake. There's Drake #1 as he's going to eat some honey fruit, but OnFleek wants to find this hook shot. Nails the stun there, but Neon gets the Trouble Bubble through the wall. Cuz very, very low, and OnFleek finds himself on the wrong side of the rift. He'll be taken down. Deft grabs that kill, but it's a trade immediately as Cuz falls. Joker can be devoured at this point, but that's going to be on cooldown. He's going to get out of the way for now as the beach ball not going to find the dove. He'll make his way back to mid after a 1-for-1.
So 1-for-1, all things considered decent. Does mean Camille has a warrior in chat and then some early in the game. This is a result of those early ganks, and Summit saying thank you very much. Waiting for the first combo of ults, but still SANDBOX noses ahead, and still their early game plan of punishing in the scenarios where they're strong is a lot more zero-sum, and so far a lot more successful than Kingzone, who escaped with a red buff on Deft, but not much else. Watching the replay here, able to maximize damage and I believe immune the Trouble Bubble there. It didn't look like there was any sleep effect onto the Camille because of the timing of the Hextech ultimatum on the back end of this trade. Deft picking up the kill means he'll have more gold than expected, so the Blade of the Ruin King might find him some good news bot side, but otherwise things come up SANDBOX gaming.
Yeah, they're going to shove this wave forward, and I believe Deft will then show us how much gold he's managed to pick up for himself. He hasn't been back to base for quite some time. Going to finally have a CS lead in this lane as well, to the tune of about 5, but now that Ghost has picked up a Vamp Scepter, he's going to be a little bit more happy as Deft just gives him a parting gift in the culling.
Joker just putting down a fake W there.
Faux lantern, yep.
Faux lantern in order to indicate that Ghost was getting to lane faster and perhaps deny a turret plate. He was successful in denying the turret plate, so nice little gamesmanship there. Again, we're focused on the hooks he's missed, but the gamesmanship on the Thresh has been very good. He's trying to play around what could be there as much as possible.
And look, it's a 3-0 record so far in the LCK, so you can't doubt him just yet. And yes, OnFleek looking to make it another Rift Herald this series. Managed to get the last one, and we'll be starting this one up at least, Cuz I don't believe has any idea, because look at this topside vision that has been put together by SANDBOX, and that's been given to them with how far ahead Summit managed to get against Rascal with those couple of ganks. 22 CS as well, and the Black Cleaver is already there. Will he have the right item build? Yet to find out. The next item should be something like a Blade of the Ruin King if he wants to just go 1v1 against Rascal all game.
And if Kings don't want to level up, I think they want a lot more out of Cuz, a player who was always a solo queue star and streamer before he became a pro gamer. He was a Royal Roader, but on a Kingzone lineup where he wouldn't have had to do much talking, right? He had some of the big veteran, loud voices on his team. Primary engage has been something he's struggled on, but Kha'Zix's been something where he's been very strong. However, if you don't have a strong engaging mindset and you play Kha'Zix, you're kind of waiting for your lane to say, yeah, there's a kill here, or yeah, there's an opportunity here. I don't know if he's getting that from Kingzone, because so far, if you think of Cuz, Kesper Cup, and in the LCK, it's been farming, and the game just falling apart because the other jungler's been proactive. Meanwhile, OnFleek is about as proactive as can be as a jungler, especially as a newer jungler in the LCK, and does feel a bit like Cuz is behind the play more often than not.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of it comes down to almost autonomy for Cuz. I feel like he does wait for his laners to tell him what to do, whereas OnFleek is just making plays. He's putting himself in the position to take people down and telling his laners what to do, which feels like an obvious benefit here to SANDBOX so far.
And if you're in a losing team, it's something that in any sport you can fall into, right? Well, I didn't do anything wrong, but if you didn't do anything, that's kind of the same as doing something wrong, Atlas. I think people miss out on that more often than not. On a good team, he certainly was a reliable hand. I don't want to minimize how good Cuz was in the Longzhu Gaming Summer 2017 season, but when he's been under fire, when the game's there to be won, it never feels like Cuz is the one who's actually winning the game for his team.
Well, Ghost was also not winning that trade towards the bottom side of the map. Cuz still has opportunities to make his name look a little bit better here for Kingzone as this game progresses, but we're heading towards 14 minutes. The turret plates will be coming down already. 2-1 on the bottom side of the map. Top side, one has been taken here in favor of Summit, so far it is 3-1. Some extra gold going over to SANDBOX, which does equalize out to about a 1.7k gold lead.
Speaking of pressure, this is the part of the laning phase where Neon needs to be aggressive, needs to actually make Galio accountable. If we saw this matchup between Invictus Gaming and TOP, which we saw multiple times in the Demacia Championship and also in the first series, it's been one that was played quite a bit between Rookie and Knight. Knight was getting big CS advantage, getting solo kills, and solo kills on Galio are so much more possible with how squishy he is.
Yeah.
In the mainstream builds right now, obviously with a Rift Herald, there are different priorities, but no CS lead for Neon. No roaming just yet, but with this Drake control, the ward's not actually going to allow Kingzone to interrupt this unless they fully commit.
Yeah, and all that information was actually there for Kingzone as well, but they decide they're not going to try and contest for this Infernal Drake, which will go into the hands of SANDBOX very, very easily. And also Dove was pushed so far up against 3. It feels like this is a Kingzone that's playing without very much confidence here in game number 2.
Which is no surprise.
No.
They're 0-3. The word is that scrims have also been very rough for this team, which we're seeing illustrated with on-stage performance. But they have players who have won big things. Atlas Pawn is a world champion. Deft has won titles wherever he's gone. At some point, the buck has to stop with someone. And is that the coaching staff? Yes, outside of game. But in-game, those stars need to be performing. And right now, it feels like 5 supporting players and no main cast.
Yeah, and I feel a little bit sad, you know, talking about Pawn, talking about the way that sort of his play has dipped off. I want to remind people that this guy was the savior of EDG back in the day. You know, this was a guy that was in hospital. He was really struggling with his health. It was his back that had been a problem for a long time, but they lose 2 games and they call on him and he says, all right, he comes in, he plays Kassadin, and they perform the reverse sweep against WE. This was a long time ago, but this was the caliber of player that he was. He really did demand all the respect in the mid lane a long time ago, and that's why we talk about Pawn with this air of sadness when play isn't necessarily going his way here in the LCK.
Nice little trade here from Deft. He gets to press the attack procs. A lot of damage onto Ghost. Cuz looking
yeah,
for it.
There's the flash. Gets the leap strike. Doesn't get the W. A hook lands. It's a beautiful one, and Cuz, he avoids the whirling death, but it's not going to avoid the death of himself as the Kha'Zix is going to be taken down. Rascal now has the shield there, but it will dissipate. And Kingzone are going to run away a little bit too far for Cuz.
Cuz finds his moment. He's oh so close, but gets punished. And that's how you know the sinking feeling will start for Kingzone. That was the time to try to find an aggressive move, but it doesn't pay off. OnFleet couldn't be there. He's topside here. He's actually just working on the mid lane turret. Gets a lot of damage on it, and SANDBOX walk away with a kill.
Yes, and they move towards this turret. They will be able to take that one down. Can they continue, as it's only Zoe there in the mid lane, but she should be able to defend. They're not actually interested in taking this one down.
You don't know Joker's
maybe,
here.
Yeah, overextended on the bottom side. This Tongue Lash is going to be avoided. Throws out the death sentence. Is going to land it there onto Tucson. Gets the Devour in there, and Deft is going to be okay as well.
And I love that Joker, despite being this veteran when it comes to age, chronologically the oldest player in the LCK, this time he waits. He's not throwing out hooks early. He waits and gets the maximum of his cooldowns available. Watch the replay here. Really nice auto-threading and skill slinging there from Deft means that Cuz finds his moment, but that extra auto can't come in. And even though he stasis through the hero's entrance, not quite a Goomba Stomp, but it's a guaranteed kill for Dove. Summit teleports in defensively, and they get the mid lane turret because the Camille preps it during all of this. Everything coming up SANDBOX Gaming, the 2-0 needs to be abated by Kingzone, and any more sidesteps like that, and perhaps it'll be confirmed.
Summit continues to farm things out as well. He's gone for the Serrated Dirk. Doesn't look like the Blade of the Ruin King will be item number 2. But also, this is a different situation. He's 40 CS ahead. He has that extra kill, the extra assist. Has himself a level advantage as well. It's only a Frozen Heart picked up for Rascal, which isn't exactly the greatest anti-Jace item. you can still press W and have an auto attack speed. It's pretty ludicrous.
You learn something from this if you're a future opponent of Kingzone. You learn that the way to beat them, based on what we've seen so far, is damn the other lanes, counterpick bot lane. Get a bot lane that can't be beaten in terms of 2v2. And Deft, who 25 CS lead in a really tricky lane, will do his best, but his impact will be minimized. Tucson can't engage for this team. He's on Tahm Kench, and Deft is dealing with the fact that Lucian, well, not many people out-traded Draven, and Lucian needs a lot of backup in order to make those proactive plays. So just with that, Kingzone feel toothless on the top side, and it does confirm our preseason thoughts of this is the Deft hard carries or team struggles. That identity seems confirmed week 1 of LCK.
And also, you know, Deft and Tucson hard carry as well, because we looked at this lane and we thought on paper, man, these two look brilliant. Deft was certainly making a name for himself towards the end of last season. I was talking about Deft with a lot of admiration because he had really stepped up his play. None of those face checks that we were talking about was looking brilliant as they move towards Worlds.
Oh, re-engage here, this is nice.
Yeah, the Ignite is going to be down as the box is going to be avoided for the moment as Ghost has to block it, but the shield from the Bloodthirst are going to be enough, and Joker gets away.
If Cuz is there, they get a guaranteed kill and potentially 2, because Cuz is behind the play. Nice little duo move there from Deft and Tucson, but no further damage to finish off the kill. Going to be pretty tricky to have lost your support and also take the Drake here, but see, not strong enough to start the Drake. On either side means that Thresh gets a free back, and actually SANDBOX retain control of the bot side river, which means that the next hero's entrance should be a little bit less expected from Kingzone.
Well, Rascal just trying to deal with this minion wave. Will do so relatively easily as he is the Scion. That cannon minion will go down, and as we tick over to 20 minutes, we've got an engaged. Naeon gets flashed on by OnFleek, does have himself the stopwatch available though, and Joker saves his life. Whirling Death picks up so much damage, and OnFleek gets another hookshot, gets in on top of Deft. The red buff gonna tick down, but not enough to take out the Lucian.
Meanwhile,
now Tucson eats himself the grey health to keep him alive as OnFleek is engaging absolutely everywhere. Eventually gets taken down by a stray paddle star, I believe maybe even a trouble bubble, as Neon gets one on the back end, and Ghost, he backs away, he takes out a Mountain Drake, and it feels like SANDBOX, their jungler is 5 people at once.
And he's the one that's separating the two teams because they trade up in terms of kills while Ghost just pops down and says, well, screw this, I'm taking a Drake. They'll slowly pick up the Mountain Drake on the back end, and once again, when it's the clutch, SANDBOX trading up.
Just stunning play from OnFleek. It felt like he was getting himself out, but then instantly back in again with another hookshot. Despite the fact that he was on low health, Summit will take down this outer turret in the mid lane. 4,000 gold. It's ticking up slowly but surely as we see this one yet again.
Watch the replay here. Summit knows his assignment as he's separate to this play, but in the play, really nice close there, and the flash taunt, perfect timing from Dove, gets the maximum value. They can't kill the Zoe though, because there's no way to actually channel that taunt for long enough in the belly of the Tahm Kench. The play could have been over here, but Summit had mainlined the fight, and you know, OnFleek probably appreciates that he'll die in this play, but they trade up in a big way. It's a 2-for-1, and the Drake eventually to the side of SANDBOX Gaming.
The amount of damage that he would have actually done as the jungler in that last fight is pretty extraordinary, though, just with the uptime that he had on so many of his abilities despite his low health bar. So I was very impressed with how OnFleek played that one. Going towards the Trinity Force build, has that Stinger as well as the Ruby Crystal on the way. As our Ghost takes down the last remaining outer turret.
Dominoes starting to fall. Kingzone have no turrets in this game, Atlas, just a Cloud Drake and 2 kills.
And what did you talk about earlier on in the day as well? It hits about 22 minutes and you have a feeling who's going to be winning the game. Kingzone really going to have to buck that trend if they want to get anywhere near a victory in this one.
Not impossible. Jace versus Scion, the biggest difference between the two comps means that when it comes to frontline, there's not a lot, but sometimes OnFleek can be a one-man frontline, and Neon is pretty exposed.
Yeah, Dove going to be the goalkeeper here. Does get all of his damage down. Tucson has to use that Devour, means Def now has to be a little bit more careful. We've got this fight erupting on multiple fronts as now Ghost with the full shield is going to be there, and Cuz, the Whirling Death, going to be blocked by Rascal, so it comes back a little bit prematurely, and Kingzone will limp away from this one. Neon is so extraordinarily low, but can be very, very tricky to pin down in these team fights. Hero's entrance not going to get anyone knocked up as Kingzone. They're just getting lower and lower. Finally, the accelerated shock blast gets it, and Summit jumps his way forward with his hammer out. So much damage from SANDBOX as they just clean up the low health members of Kingzone. This will be the ace and a triple kill coming in for Summit.
It's close to a clean ace and Baron as well for the side of SANDBOX. 5 for 1, and they turn onto the Baron. The firing squad was there. The firing squad was SANDBOX, and Kingzone had nowhere to run.
They were literally backs against the wall, and Kingzone just had to stand there and watch as they fell down. The Jace poke, oh so important as well in that fight. You're going to have a look at this one again, and the positioning just didn't work.
And because he was popped over, Neon knew he had to eat some damage, but Dove actually gets the full rotation, almost 100-0, onto the Zoe there to start the fight, and then the moment you're cutting to the left, you know you're done here. There's 2 high health bars and mana bars on the side of SANDBOX. Ghost doesn't play it ideally and has to reset his positioning, but there's no more beef here for Kingzone. They allow Rascal's health bar to be used, the Devour to be used on the Scion, thank you very much, and you just walk up and know that it's either a clean ace or close to, and close to is good enough for the side of SANDBOX Gaming.
Yeah, we heard in the pregame that Dove is a little bit underrated. A lot of the players talking about that, and honestly, he did the full round of spells on the Zoe and then did exactly the same thing to Cuz and almost 100-0'd him as well. So that started off as basically a 3 versus 5.
And that's the thing, Atlas, is that people say that Galio is easy. It's actually been said on our Trash Talk here when it comes to Galio execution, and a question by our interviewer on how to play Galio better to Showmaker. He still managed to make Galio look impressive. He threaded the needle, and actually his skill order was relevant, not just leading with taunt. So really nice stuff coming through from Dove, and now all the good news can be piled up and all the early game sins from both sides can be tabulated. Seems like Kingzone DragonX needs to spend more in the confessional booth, because right now we're knocking on the inhibitors going down on the side of Kingzone.
It felt like it was a 4,000 gold lead for a long time. Now as we look up to the scoreboard, it's approaching that 10k mark. Another redemption comes in. I believe it might have been Joker's one. Not quite sure I remember, but we've just got Baron buffed minions smacking their heads against these turrets. SANDBOX Gaming, so many different options. Not very many wrong decisions to make here as, yeah, Kingzone going for one last-ditch effort, and Ghost still hasn't fallen down yet. Hero's entrance just to zone everyone away as Cuz gets hit by the Whirling Death, but does survive for the moment. First kill will be over to OnFleek as Kingzone start this one up. It's a really good knock-up onto Dove, who wants to get himself the taunt. Justice Punch comes in, finds a double instantly onto Deft and Neon. How did that even happen? I thought he was caught, but who caught who is now Joker wants to get the play onto Rascal, who doesn't have many options. He picks up 1 kill. Now will find himself the Blast Cone, but is taken down by Ghost. Summit will be here as well, as Ghost not going to get taken down by this zombie. Most likely is Summit. Almost allows that one to happen, but slows down the zombie Scion.
In every single way, that was the epitome of you spoke too fast, a team fight. A lot happening on both sides. I was focused on the bot side, only noticing towards the tail end of the fight that OnFleek was fighting against 3 members and zoning them for a good 15 seconds as a Camille. This is not a Camille with a Guardian Angel. This is damage Camille, but the zoning job there was so important because Ghost was out of this fight in terms of damage. Let's try to fully unpack what happened over the course of a long fight. This is a great all-in timing from Kingzone DragonX. If they're not 10,000 gold behind, maybe this is super successful because Ghost probably dies the first round of damage. But watch the top side as OnFleek wastes the time of Tucson, Deft, and Neon. That's all the damage. And also the peel support's time being wasted. Then you're going to be drawn to this as Dove says, you know what? I'm going to go in against the 2-man taunt into killing both carries. Can you do any more as a damn Galio?
It's just disgusting amounts of damage. Yeah, OnFleek looks for it again. The double kill! Probably going to come in. No, it's not. OnFleek deserved that one, though. The kill into hookshot looked glorious from this guy's Camille. These new players come in and they make Camille look like a completely different champion here in the LCK.
I think that might just be GG. Look at the death timers here. We're pushing up. Death's out of position, and SANDBOX won't end the game.
Yep. Neon, not a lot he can do either. The culling is going to come forward, but the turrets are falling down. OnFleek will die, but it will be a trade for the Scion there as well.
Scion dying is not so bad because you can kill the minion wave. Next minion wave is a while away. Can they finish on this push?
Not entirely sure. The Baron buff has, of course, worn off. SANDBOX still with 4 members, still pushing up towards this last remaining Nexus turret. Remember, they've got a lot of damage with the Jace available at the same time. Tucson jumps forward. He's just going to explode before the Grey Health can even be used as Cuz wants to get an extra kill. Hero's entrance is going to reposition the Gallios. Now Cuz, does he have enough? No, he does.
Oh, SANDBOX.
Able to take him down, and SANDBOX, have they bitten off more than they can chew? Guardian Angel now down as Ghost goes into the stopwatch. Def trying to do more. The empowered shock blast is there, and Summit will finish off the Nexus. It was messy, but it was finished.
Unconventional, but successful on the side of SANDBOX in two different ways over two different series. 4-0 is still a surprising spot to find SANDBOX at the end of their first week of LCK play ever. And 0-4 is the new norm for Kingzone DragonX. They have a lot to work on coming into week 2 of LCK Spring.
And it's just not the result that you'd expect coming into the LCK, but one we're getting used to now. W1D5 Gaming also 4-0, SANDBOX joining them from Challengers Korea, and also now on 4-0. And I feel like celebrating the rookies, celebrating the new players has become the new thing, and I think it's glorious. Even if they're not necessarily the youngest players, with Joker being older than even old man score.
Griffin, W1D5 Gaming, SANDBOX Gaming, the three orgs to join LCK most recently are 12-0. No losses for any of these last three promoted sides. If that doesn't tell you that new blood is rising, nothing will. Neon gets to make his professional debut in Korea after having a career outside of Korea and isn't able to change anything when it comes to the victors. Pawn watches on as Kingzone DragonX have problems upon problems and very little in the term of good news to try to abate the downward feeling, the depression that they must be settling into. Kingzone a lot to work on. SANDBOX Gaming, you know, not looking like a contender at the top, but still looking like a team that could be contending for playoffs. And that already is a big jolt to the system because I had them bottom 3.
I had them bottom 3 as well, but now we're thinking about switching them with a team like Kingzone, with a team like KT Rolster that didn't necessarily perform either this week. But remember, only week 1, we still have one match to go. But then week 2, we've got so many more weeks of the first round robin yet to see. What will we uncover? I'm just excited to find out, Papa Smithy. I feel like now predictions out the window. A lot of things have changed. The only two things I think that were almost confirmed was SKT and Griffin looking ridiculously strong.
We feel like we know the power levels of 8 teams, but kind of fittingly, Afrika and Hanwha Life, who play in the final series of the day, are the two that I'm not sure of.
Yeah.
I think Afrika are better than they showed in their 2-0 loss, but I don't know. And Hanwha Life were a big surprise taking down KT. But what does that mean after KT struggles? What I can say about this game is that On Fleek definitely going to be contesting for best Camille in the league. It was so dirty, those 2 deaths to Rascal. I would have been tilted to high heaven after those 2 deaths if I was the top lane Scion player. And sadly for Kingzone, some good moments from Def, but not enough. And is that going to be Kingzone's MO this season? Def has some good moments, but it's not enough, because I'm loving the Draven Thresh, and any way you can get a 2v2 advantage over Deft and Tucson, it slows them down, and it seems to counter Kingzone DragonX.
And this answer to the dive on top of Ghost, I felt Ghost played this entire game running away from Kingzone and the rest of his team, killing everyone. I mean, Dove was so incredibly fed towards the end on Fleek, playing like a complete god. He does get a couple of ultimates through for some extra damage, but as you can see, it's all about the Camille dodging away, zoning out most of Kingzone's damage, and then the backup coming in, the orbital nuke that is the Galio.
I think OnFleek or Dove pick up the MVP, but my shout out goes to specifically the support here. I think Joker had a really good game on Thresh after a bit of a stinker in game number 1, win or not. He was really on point here and was much more judicious about his cooldowns. Didn't look desperate, looked calculated, and that's what you want to be. As Thresh is, you know, sometimes you can just get on the OnFleek bus and just ride it all the way to a 2-0 victory.
Yep, and they certainly did so. Dove helping out a lot. As you can see, once again, it's Joker doing his best to run away. Body blocking for Ghost there as well. But now, Summit gets the Shock Blast, and that's all she wrote.
Not since Flawless have we had a player try to make a comment about their play in their name. And for Flawless, well, he turned into Buffless, his new name. Seemed to fit him slightly better because Flawless had a lot of struggles in Korea. Went on to have a pretty good career over in the LPL. On Fleek has looked on Fleek, and that is definitely a task when it comes to how strong he's been able to play. So I think it's time to throw it over to an interview with G-Sun and learn a bit more about SANDBOX Gaming. Turns out we might have a few of these over the course of LCK Spring 2019.
Exactly. Let's find out exactly who's going to be that next MVP, as well as, man, that damage from Dove. Absolutely fantastic. Want to know who will be joining Summit on that one. 23,000 damage, but it's a Jace, so he's going to be throwing the shock blasts all the way forward. In Kingzone, a sad story, but the uprising of the challenger squads is so cool to see. SANDBOX joining Damwon at 4-0. Wasn't expecting it, but I'm excited to have a chat to SANDBOX and see how they feel after their second 2-0 to start this one off.
No one can expect it, Atlas. 8-0 for promoted teams has never happened. Double flawless starts for the promoted teams. And yes, there's more expectation around Damwon, but credit to SANDBOX. If you're looking on paper, it's the same stat line, which is so cool to see, and it shows there's a lot of work to be done on both ends. Solidifying on a 4-0 is pretty hard, but coming back from a 0-4, maybe even harder on the side of Kingzone. LCK Spring, it does feel like we still don't know what the skippable matchups are. We still don't know what the bottom of the table clashes are. Is KT versus Kingzone bottom of the table fodder as OnFlake picks up his first MVP, far from his first impressive performance, but a deserved MVP to get going.
Yep, some of the best Camille that we've seen so far, and he made Rascal a very sad scion that this was the beginning of the end, honestly, for what OnFleek was able to do. Even a cheeky redemption being scouted up for.
But no one's been camped by a Camille like that. If you actually look at the visuals, you're playing against a player who expects you, and still you outskill in those two turret dives. Really well played by OnFlake and Summit. And from there, they transferred their lead. And it was never conventional. It was never E into Lucian, ult, Galio ult, goodbye. It was all much more technical than that, and still they pulled it off.
Yeah, it was him ducking in and out of fights so beautifully, utilizing his stopwatches really, really nicely as well. It was absolutely fantastic play coming out of OnFleek. Looking forward to seeing more from him, but that is going to mean that we've got a relatively large break. And first off, we will have the interview, so let's throw it over to Ji-Sun.
Thank you guys. This is Ji-Sun with today's interview translation, and we're going to join by Summit and OnFleek from SANDBOX Gaming. Summit, this is your first MVP at LCK. How do you feel? I was really nervous, to be honest, but I'm really happy right now. And OnFleek, the teams from Challengers Korea are performing so well. Did you expect this 2-0 victory today? Well, our team is performing so well at streams, so I did have confidence, you know. Previously, you were in Africa, but now you're in SANDBOX and you're performing at LCK. Were you nervous before going into games? Yes, I was really nervous, and my hands were shaking. I can realize I'm truly at stage right now. Moving on to game. Urgot only got 2 losses at LCK. I can say it's a top-tier champion. How do you rate it as a top-tier champion right now? You know, it's really tanky, but it also has really insane amount of damage, so I think it's really good. You guys banned out Urgot in the game too. Yeah, because we didn't want them to play it. Game 1, both teams tried top mid lane swap, and also you guys were the one who initially tried it. Well, it's really sad that they were actually knowing that we're going to swap the lane, but, you know, we want to follow the champions that has more priority in the laning phase. And you guys played AD carry Draven for 2 games in a row. Does that reflect the trust in him? Just as Ghost called me as the Darius lover, he is also a Draven lover. So yeah, trust in each other a lot. But game 1, there were a lot of team fights and skirmishes when you guys gained the momentum to close out the game. And we are able to catch out players a lot and got the Baron. I was really confident that we will be the one closing out the game. And let's move on to game 2. OnFleek. Well, Nayeon subbed in, and he's from Challengers Korea, right? Have you faced him a lot? back in the days? During the Challenges Korea, he was a good mid laner. And today, yeah, so seeing him at LCK stage was really surprising, but I think he performed really well. And you were camping a lot in top lane. What kind of strategy was going on? I didn't have any specific plans for it. I was trying to start at red buff, but I wasn't able to, so I tried to make as many ganks as possible, especially top has really good minion waves. And I had enough vision using my control word, so I knew that there were high possibility making gank over there. Ghost got his first kill in the very late stage of game. Was he happy at that moment? He was calling for kills in the previous team fights, but we were unlucky a little bit. And he finally got his first kill. And he got more than 1,000 golds. He was super happy. And all the fans are also happy for him for getting that 1,115 golds. On Flick, there is a really famous meme with you and Untara. You guys really look alike. Some fans call you Ontara. I don't want to admit it before I see him in person. I hope you can get the opportunity one day. So SANDBOX Gaming, you guys are in a really great mood, and I heard that you guys are doing also great in the practice games. So is there any last messages? I think we're doing really well, but our upcoming opponent will be SK Telecom. It will be a challenge for us, so we're going to practice and prepare hard. I want to say SKT will be a tough opponent, but I think it will worth the game, so I'm going to prepare hard. SANDBOX with a lot of young bloods, and this will be the end of the interview with Summit and Onflip from SANDBOX Gaming.
G-Sun. And hi guys. Hi guys, thanks G-Sun for the interview. Absolutely fantastic to hear from those guys, and I hadn't actually thought about that. Onfleek does look a lot like Untara.
Ontara is a pretty fun name. Remember, Orntara was Orn's nickname when he... Untara's nickname. Untara's nickname when he came in for the Worlds qualifiers.
Yep.
We finally saw him at the end of summer.
And he had some other nicknames as well, but we won't talk about those. Out there streaming, having a good time. And yeah, the next matchup's against SKT. And again, you're struck by the fact that SANDBOX Gaming are 4-0. SKT do feel like the one team up there with Damwon, Griffin, and SANDBOX to, you know, find those young ruffians and show them something. Yeah.
Do they have to be the one? Are they the only ones? Is it a possibility that it's New Blood and SKT to the nth degree? Could SANDBOX actually be taking wins from the likes of Afrika and Hanwha Life and those other teams that are around the top? SANDBOX are the most likely to fall down, but what if they don't? And if SKT win, does it have to be an overwhelming victory? Or if SANDBOX win a single game, does that show us that still SANDBOX Gaming could be a threat for top 5?
And also, do we have just 2-0 versus the 0-2 by the end of the week? Because this series could certainly show us that. The one that we do have coming up will be a long time before we get there. But Hanwha Life, if they manage to take down Afrika Freaks here, then we've got 2-0s versus the 0-2s. And the 0-2s, if you were a betting man, you probably would not have put them on the bottom end.
Only exception was Hanwha Life 2-1 over KT.
That's true.
Guys, it's going to be about an hour till we come back. Afrika Hanwha Life, final game of LCK Spring 2019. I need to know more about these two teams. I hope you guys do too, and join us in an hour.
Yeah, very excited to see what is going to happen. So thank you so much for watching our first series. It'll be about an hour, so go do whatever you want. Find some different, I don't know, tasks. What can you do for an hour? What's the best option? Go and find